Um, Today we are covering, and let me know if you want to ask more questions or anything during the lesson, just do so. Today we are covering narrative comprehension skills. Yeah, more specifically, the literal understanding type of questions. It's the kind where you can like copy the answer from the passage kind, but your teacher says you can't copy the answer, you have to use your own words kind. That one, that's the one that I'm talking about, the literal understanding thing. Now, if you copy stuff from the passage directly, all right, do you still get the points in Sec 2? Yes, you do. If you did the same thing in Sec 3, do you still get the points? No, you don't, because in Sec 3, there is uh an elevation of the standard of expectation in Sec 3, and they are basically training you for your O levels or your N levels, right? And O levels and N levels, it's always a good thing not to copy wholesale from the passage, but instead, but instead, um, extract the idea and then write it down in your own way, in the way that you express it. Right? Use different words to express yourself, apart from the original words within the passage itself. Okay, so can I just ask? It's like a 88 tuition rule for everyone to turn on your cameras, please, so that I know you're around, you're paying attention, and everything, and it isn't a case where your mom or dad forces you to come for a lesson and then you're not happy, and then you leave the video turned off, and then actually you're off somewhere else, or you're looking at some other screen and stuff. So you can do like what Raju is doing. Raju has put on an avatar. If you don't want your face to appear, put on an avatar in Google. A lot of avatars to choose from, but at least I'm sure that there's someone sitting in front of the screen. All right. So can Tammy, Nicholas, and Logan just turn on your screens, please? Just to make sure that there's someone actually sitting there. Thank you very much, Tammy and Raju and Nikki. Joven, you can, after you turn on your camera, and then you can turn on the background and set an avatar for yourself. It appear as an alien or something, and then you can go to the toilet. Thank you very much, Joven. And you can put like some filter on or whatever. Okay. Nicholas, are you there? Your camera's not working for some reason. Okay. But I will check in now and then I expect you to respond in the chat group. Okay, just so that I know you're there. The main point being that so that I know you're there. All right. Okay, so let's start. All right, today we'll be covering narrative comprehension. That's the main thing for today. And if we have time, we'll talk about current affairs. All right, that's extra time if we do have the time. In between the narrative comprehension part, I'll give you guys a 5-minute break. All right, as usual, so that you can freshen up and everything. And at any point in time, stop me if you're not sure, or if I'm going too quickly, which some of my students tell me I do go quite quickly. So stop me and say, Mr. Joel, we're going too quickly. I need you to slow down. I don't understand this part. Okay, let's have a look. Literal understanding questions. Now, your narrative comprehension, by and large, it's split into 3 parts. The first part is your visual stimulus comprehension. It's not a lot of marks, but and it's not very tough as well. I can assure you, since you're using the new format now, the new syllabus, it's actually easier to answer the questions compared to your seniors in the past. All right, the previous one was actually tougher. Now they've actually made it more simpler for section A. Section 2 is a fictional passage normally, and then you answer questions based on that. It's normally worth 20 points. And then section C is a non-fictional one, and it's worth 25 points because summary writing is part of section C as well. Now, when we say narrative comprehension over here, we are talking about your section B, because narratives are normally fictional. They're telling you a story. That's why it's called narrative, just like how you wrote narrative compositions in primary school. Okay, so what are literal understanding questions? Like what I said before, it's a test of your ability to understand information that is stated explicitly, which means it is very clear. Like you can literally read it off the passage kind of answer. Okay, it's very straightforward. You just have to identify details asked in the question. When I say straightforward, I don't mean that you can find the whole answer in just one paragraph, that kind of thing. Sometimes your answers could be in different paragraphs, it could be in different sentences. It depends, but you can find the answers directly in the passage. You don't need to guess. You don't need to make any inferences about the relationships of the characters or whatever. You can literally pick these out, and these are your answers. Okay, so quite a straightforward one to start the year off. I mean, last lesson we started off with a pretty simple situational writing, right? Last lesson we talked about um, informal email writing, which is actually very simple. And so when we talk about literal understanding questions, all right, these are the words that we normally use: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay. For example, over here, right, there's a paragraph that's talking about childcare. All right. Scarcity means it's very rare, right? The scarcity of childcare support today and the increasing cost of living has decreased the interest level to have babies today, blah, 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 blah. Even if I don't read the paragraph and I read the question directly, it says, what makes one decrease the interest to have children today? I immediately log into the keywords over here. All right, have children today. I need to look for these words. Have children today. Decrease interest. Wow, important, important. Where does it talk about decrease interest? There we go. Decrease interest. Have babies are children, right? Have today. So, so over here we can see that the immediate answer is number one. We have the scarcity of childcare support today. And then we have the word and, right, which means it's a new idea after that. All right. The increasing cost of living. That's your idea number two. Is then idea number three? For people whose annual income is often below the subsistence level, the yearning to change one's life by having a child is something that they do not see as a priority. This one is about low annual income. Then some of you might write it in as your answer. And you're like, huh? Annual income, isn't that different from cost of living? Yes, but it's basically the same thing. If you don't earn enough to pay for yourself, right, then you will not want to have a child. So it's talking about the same thing. All right, your annual income directly correlates to the cost of living. The more you earn, all right, the more you can cope with the cost of living. The less you earn, the less you can cope. So therefore, it's actually the same point. So if we wrote the answer number one and number two in here for our answer, we get it correct. Yeah, so we can just write the scarcity of childcare support and the increasing cost of living causes one to decrease their interest to have children today. Full stop. Done deal. 2 marks. All right. Straight up. Very easy. Okay. This is in Sec 2. But of course, your teachers will encourage you and they will say, you have to use different words. You want to use different words, how do we change it? Scarcity of childcare support. So maybe you can say the difficulty in finding good childcare, right? Or the difficulty in finding good children minders, that kind of thing. Increased cost of living, how do you want to paraphrase it? You can say, you can say the increasing prices of goods and services, right? Those are basically the cost of living, all right? Buying stuff from NTUC and then getting services like medical services from the GP, or getting dental service, or even getting a haircut, you know, and stuff like that. Those are part of the cost of living. Paying for your electricity bills and so forth, those are services. So everything can be subsumed under goods and services. So you don't need to say cost of living, you can say the ever increasing prices of goods and services. That's another way that you can rephrase this, right? But at Sec 2 level, you're encouraged to. It's not a must. It's still good to give it a try though. Another example over here, so the first thing that pops in my mind, right? Keyword, technology affected communication skills. Let's have a look. Technology, have we become stronger? That's not how it has affected communication skills. Spend times on their phone instead of communicating with each other. So has the quality of family life decreased? Technology is supposed to improve communication, have caused us to retreat into seclusion. So I'm finding a lot of technology word. I want to say affected communication skills. Wow, they're all over the place, man. This is difficult. I find so many words of communicating or communication inside this paragraph. Looks like it's not too easy for this, right? But if we read it carefully, they're asking us about, how it has affected people. So I think the key word here is affected. How has it affected people? Why has technology affected people's communication skills? So I think the very, very obvious answer here is people spend too much time on their technological devices. That's the first answer. We don't need this. These are just like examples, such as computers and electronic devices. These are examples because of the word such as, right? It means such as means examples. For example, such as stuff like that, right? We don't use that in our answers normally. Retreat into seclusion and be uninterested. So that's part of the reason as well in communicating with others. So why has technology affected people's communication skills? You can say people spend too much time on technology such that they retreat into seclusion and become uninterested in communicating with others. And that's your point over there. So you can literally copy this with a bit of rephrasing into your answer and you will get it correct. So just get that part down over here with the rest of the green stuff. And you would have the answer, right? This is not as straightforward as example one, okay? You have to read a little bit more in depth for this, but it's still considered literal because you can literally copy the stuff there and you can get the answer. How about example 3 here? Why do scammers assume a false identity on the internet? Scams are plenty on the internet. Anyone can assume a false identity. So they're asking why over here. Very important. Why? Or pretend to be someone else on the internet. Scammers use internet websites to defend victims, establish trust, blah, blah, blah. So over here we say we do see false identity. All right. We see scammers. So why do they assume a false identity? So they use it. So what do we find? They use it to befriend victims. All right. Giving them the false impression that the money will be transferred to them. So this is like the important part. Will be put to good use, and they use it to establish trust from the victims as well. All right, so this one is a bit tricky too. You don't find the answer directly beside the false identity and the scammer keyword, but you can use the rest of the answers here or the rest of the areas here to kind of like give the answer. So scammers assume a false identity on the internet to befriend victims, giving them the false impression that the money transferred to them will be put to good use and to establish trust from the victims. Full stop. That's your answer for this particular example. Once again, not that straightforward as well. You need to read a little bit more in depth, but still you can copy the answer in and you will get the mark. Okay? So those are the examples. Answers can be found in the passage. Look for the clue word given in the question and then zoom in around that paragraph and sentence to find the answers. That's what we've been doing. Now let me just download the stuff, download your results from the internet. I want to see how many of you actually did the work online first before coming, and then I'll give you some bonus marks. Let's export this. Let me open this, have a quick look. Who did the work? No one did the work. Okay, kudos to Nicholas for at least going online, but he didn't do anything as well. Okay, so for this class, the questions will be released before the lesson. You should do the questions first before coming for the lesson. Yeah, an advantage to you. Yes, Nikki and Nicholas. Oh, you can't type well because Raju's hand is fractured. Yes, Nicholas. Or Nikki, sorry, Nikki.
Yesterday I actually attempted this worksheet. I think if I'm not wrong, I attempted this like at a total it was an hour long because I did it like at 9 p.m. last night and I finished at 10 plus. But even when I did this worksheet, I'm not so sure why you couldn't find my answer because I thought I think I did actually do my work like
Oh, you did
yesterday.
actually finish